Good day. This is the Corrupt True Crime Podcast, and I'm Charlie Cruz. Today's episode is about one of history's most audacious swindles, a charismatic fraudster who managed to convince wealthy scrap metal dealers that he had the authority to sell France's most iconic landmark, the Eiffel Tower, not once, but twice, in the roaring 20s. Picture this. A man walks into one of Paris's most luxurious hotels, rents a suite overlooking the Place de la Concorde, and proceeds to sell France's most iconic landmark for scrap metal. The Eiffel Tower, 7,000 tons of wrought iron that wasn't his to sell, sitting there for everyone to see, still standing, still very much the property of the French government. And here's the kicker, he pulled it off so perfectly that he came back a month later and did it again. This is the story of Victor Lustig, and what he understood about human nature could fill a psychology textbook. Because the thing about a truly brilliant con isn't just about fooling someone, it's about making them too embarrassed to admit they've been fooled. Now, Victor Lustig was born somewhere in Austria-Hungary around the turn of the century, and by his 20s, he'd already figured out something crucial. The best place to find wealthy marks was on transatlantic ocean liners. First-class passengers, bored during week-long voyages, flush with cash, looking for entertainment. He spoke 5 languages fluently, dressed impeccably, and possessed the kind of charm that made people want to believe him. He'd run card games, investment schemes, anything that separated the wealthy from their money. But by the mid-20s, Lustig was operating in Paris, and that's where he read something in the newspaper that would inspire his masterpiece. The Eiffel Tower, that massive iron structure built for the World's Fair decades earlier, was becoming expensive to maintain. Some officials were questioning whether it was worth keeping. Now, you've got to understand something about the tower back then. It wasn't the beloved symbol it is today. Plenty of Parisians thought it was an eyesore, a temporary structure that had overstayed its welcome. So when Lustig read about maintenance concerns, he saw something nobody else did: opportunity. Here's what made Lustig different from your average con artist. He didn't just see a chance to steal, he saw the entire psychological landscape: post-war France, economic uncertainty, bureaucratic opacity, human greed, and most importantly, human shame. He understood that the perfect victim isn't someone you trick. It's someone who tricks themselves, someone who becomes complicit in their own deception. So Lustig sets up shop at the Hôtel de Crillon, not some fleabag operation, the Crillon, one of Paris's most prestigious addresses. He has government stationery printed up, complete with official seals, studies the organizational chart of French bureaucracy until he can name drop like he's been working there for years, and he identifies his targets, the 6 largest scrap metal dealers in Paris. Each dealer receives a letter on official government letterhead: confidential government business, urgent matter of national importance, discretion absolutely essential. Please arrive at this date and time at the Hôtel de Crillon. Now imagine you're a scrap metal dealer in Paris, and you receive this letter. It looks official. The hotel is legitimate. The meeting place suggests this is real government business. So you show up, and there's Lustig, dressed like he walked out of a government office, flanked by his accomplice, an American con man named Dan Collins, playing the role of secretary. 5 other dealers are there, all legitimate businessmen you recognize. That's social proof right there. If they're taking this seriously, maybe you should too. Lustig explains the situation with perfect bureaucratic gravity. The government has made a difficult decision. The Eiffel Tower's maintenance costs have become prohibitive. After internal debate at the highest levels, they've decided to demolish it and sell the metal. 7,000 tons of iron. But this is politically explosive. The announcement can't be made until the deal is complete. That's why this meeting is confidential. That's why they've selected only the most reputable dealers. That's why everything must happen quickly.
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
And here's the beautiful part: Lustig arranges a tour. He rents a limousine, drives all 6 dealers to the Eiffel Tower itself, and conducts an official government tour of the structure they're supposedly bidding on. The audacity of this is breathtaking. He's showing them something they can all see, something that's obviously still standing, and he's doing it in broad daylight, with the confidence of a man who knows exactly what he's doing. During that tour, Lustig is watching, observing, reading people like he's been doing his entire career, and he identifies his mark, a man named Andre Poisson, a scrap dealer who'd recently moved his business to Paris from the provinces. Poisson is nervous, uncomfortable, clearly eager to make his mark among the Paris business elite. Perfect. After the tour, Lustig requests a private meeting with Poisson, and this is where his psychological genius really shows. Poisson's wife is suspicious. She doesn't trust this. Something feels off, so Lustig does something counterintuitive. He makes himself look corrupt. He hints, delicately, that he's not paid particularly well by the government, that a man in his position might be open to certain arrangements, that if someone were to ensure his bid was looked upon favorably, well, perhaps an arrangement could be made. And Poisson gets it. He's being asked for a bribe. And here's the thing about bribes in French bureaucracy. They were familiar. Poisson's wife stops being suspicious because corrupt officials accepting bribes felt authentically French government. Lustig just made the con more believable by appearing to be on the take. Poisson pays, not just some deposit on the tower itself that was never really the target. He pays a substantial bribe, roughly 70,000 francs, equivalent to $250,000 today. Money to ensure his bid wins. Money that goes straight into Lustig's pocket. And the beauty of targeting the bribe instead of the purchase price is this. Poisson thinks he's getting away with something. He thinks he's put one over on the government by greasing the wheels. He's complicit. Lustig and Collins take the money and vanish. Vienna first, then other cities, waiting to see if the news breaks, waiting to see if Poisson reports the crime. And here's where Lustig's understanding of human psychology proves perfect. Poisson never reports it, never goes to the police, never says a word. Because going to the authorities means admitting he tried to bribe a government official. It means admitting he fell for an impossible con. It means looking like a fool to the very Paris business community he was trying to impress. The embarrassment is worse than the financial loss. Lustig waits a month. No police, no investigation, no consequences. And he thinks, well, if it worked once. So he goes back to Paris and runs the exact same con. New dealers, same script, same hotel, same government stationery, same Eiffel Tower tour. Everything identical. And this is where overconfidence catches up with genius. Because the second mark isn't as susceptible to shame. This dealer goes straight to the police and reports the whole scheme. Now French authorities are scrambling. They've got a con artist who just tried to sell a national monument, who apparently did it before, and who's already gone. Lustig flees to Austria, then eventually to America, putting an ocean between himself and French law enforcement. The Eiffel Tower con becomes legendary, but Lustig himself remains free. For the next decade, he runs variations on his greatest hits. He once conned Al Capone by asking for $50,000 to invest, holding it for months, then returning it claiming the deal fell through. Capone, impressed by Lustig's apparent honesty in returning the money, gave him $5,000 as a reward. That was the con. He ran counterfeit money operations, check frauds, investment schemes across America, 45 different aliases. He was brilliant, meticulous, and ultimately hooked on the game. The US Secret Service tracked him for years. Agent Peter Rubano built a case slowly, connecting Lustig to counterfeit bills circulating through multiple states. See, Lustig's fake currency was exceptional quality, some of the best ever produced, but counterfeiting leaves evidence, physical evidence. Unlike confidence schemes where victims often don't report, counterfeit money creates a paper trail. They finally caught him in New York in the mid-30s, got him with the plates, the bills, the whole operation. And once they had him, they started connecting the dots, the ocean liner cons, the investment frauds, the business scams, and yes, the legendary scheme where he sold the Eiffel Tower, twice. The trial focused on counterfeiting because that's what they could prove with physical evidence. All those brilliant psychological cons, those masterpieces of manipulation, those were harder to prosecute across international borders with uncooperative victims. But counterfeiting, that's federal. That's 20 years in prison. That's Alcatraz.
Oh, hey, friend. Do you like what you're hearing? Now you can have a ridiculously amazing podcast, too. Check out holler.studio to get yourself one today.
Victor Lustig, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower, ended up on Alcatraz, another famous landmark, but one he definitely couldn't con his way out of. He served 11 years before pneumonia took him. died in prison, buried under one of his many aliases, his real name barely remembered. The Eiffel Tower still stands, of course, still towering over Paris, still very much not sold for scrap, and Henri de Poisson's embarrassment has long since faded into history, his name now just a footnote in one of the greatest cons ever pulled. Because here's what Lustig understood about human nature that made him so dangerous and so successful. We're not usually fooled by the con itself. We're fooled by our own greed, our own ego, our own desire to believe we're getting away with something. Poisson didn't just fall for a fake government official. He fell for the idea that he was clever enough to bribe his way to a massive score. He became invested in his own deception. And that embarrassment Lustig predicted, that shame that kept Poisson silent, that's the real genius of the con. The perfect crime isn't one where you don't get caught. It's one where the victim can't admit there was a crime at all. But here's the thing about being so clever, you can sell a national monument. Eventually, cleverness isn't enough. Greed catches up. Ego demands you try again. And sooner or later, the game ends with a cell door closing. 20 years in federal prison. Death behind bars. Your real name forgotten. Your aliases remembered only as cautionary tales. The Eiffel Tower stands. Lustig's grave is barely marked. And somewhere in the physics of that equation is everything you need to know about why crime, no matter how brilliant, never really pays. The thing about brilliant schemes is that they are seldom brilliant enough, and no matter how clever you are, the house almost always wins. Now, if you enjoyed our show, tap that follow button and 5 stars in our ratings. Catch you next time.
Grep News. Tamez.